Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Underhood Show. My name is Josh Profit. I'm the service director here at Mel Hamilton Ford. Alongside me this morning, Kelly Hamilton. Kelly's the manager of the Quick Lane facility down there. So, good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great this morning.
Doing great this morning. Beautiful Saturday morning out
Yes,
there
it
for
is.
sure. So, I this morning I've come in, got a couple things accomplished on my to-do list, but went over to the parts warehouse and man, things are rolling already.
Yep.
It's the Saturday morning get up and get it done
Saturday
is what we
morning
call
hustle.
that, right?
Saturday morning hustle.
So definitely busy down at the Quick Lane this morning. But so, hey, this is a call-in show, 316-462-3673. There's a number on the bottom of the screen there. Talk about anything automotive that you want to. Sometimes we don't even talk about automotive stuff at all. So tires, brakes, check engine lights, want to talk about maintenance and how to maintain a vehicle, give us a call. Talk about new vehicle products, just really anything in the automotive industry, and see if you can put us in the ditch, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a couple of things on my agenda this morning that I wanted to talk about, and so I was going to put the list out there. You asked me to text you, and last night I got to thinking about that, and it was, I don't know, 12 o'clock, and I was like, well, it's not going to do them a whole lot of good now to be doing that. But so today on my list, I'll give you the quick rundown, and then for the viewers that are listening as well, if you want to call in and comment on one of the topics, that's fine. And if we get to the topics, great. If we don't get to the topics and you want to talk about something completely else, that's perfectly fine too. So today on my list, I thought,
as long as everybody knows this is like an impromptu deal.
Yeah.
It's like anybody ever saw Whose Line Is It Anyway? I got to come up with this stuff on the fly, so give me a little credit.
Okay, all right. So what I've got is backyard mechanicking. So your best backyard mechanicking story before you were actually mechanicking. I've got a couple of different stories I thought I would share in regards to that. The other thing is, springtime, it's hasn't been that way so far. We've had a couple of hot days, in April. We're now into May. AC systems, right? Like I feel like we are getting ready to get in the hot and heavy of that for sure. First couple of warm snaps, it seems like that you get an influx in AC repairs for sure right off the bat. Thought we would talk about that, and then I had a third topic, and right now, for the life of me, I don't remember what it was. So, but we can kind of start there. But it is a call-in show, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us and talk about, again, anything in the automotive world industry. For each and every caller that calls into the show, we've got a great prize package that we'll mail out to you, but it consists of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Mel Hamilton Ford. While we're performing that, we're also going to complete a multi-point inspection on your vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components, just making sure that it's ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also get yourself $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat or drink while you're here with us at the Big Corner. And then complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then BG products package, which consists of a can of MOA or motor oil additive for your engine oil. And then 44K for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. So, hey, let's get the phones ringing, 316-462-3673. So I remember what the other topic was, and that's, aftermarket parts versus, OEM parts. Had a couple of instances this week throughout the shop of consumers and just experiences with that didn't turn out the greatest.
You don't say.
Yeah, it's craziest thing. So I'll kick it off with my first story on backyard mechanicking. Right. So this is long before I was obviously ever in the industry. I was extremely young. I want to say I was maybe 5 or 6 at the time. I don't know, maybe just a little bit older, but we had a older Crown Vic was the family car. And no, it was LTD. anyways,
We had an LTD
yeah.
too.
So it was right about the time the car was about the time that fuel injection came out, but it was many years later. And my dad had no idea how to work on cars or anything, but he had a friend that was a mechanic, you know, friend of a friend situation. And the thing, it wouldn't run, it wouldn't start, it would crank over, it wouldn't start. And they had messed around with it, I want to say at least a couple of days, trying to figure out what the heck was going on with this thing. And then got to the point where they deemed that they thought it might be fuel pressure. And so they're supplementing this thing on gas. And I just remember this as vivid as yesterday. He's sitting there dumping gas down in the throttle body of this thing, and it's running, and like it ain't running what I remember to be a couple of days. And that car backfired. Boop. And when it backfired, he was holding some sort of can of some sort, and it backfired. And you know, big old, you know, from my perspective and what my age was, looked like one of the explosions that you see on TV in the movies or whatever, that just seemed huge, that was really big. And so had the can of whatever gas or whatever he was spraying in there, and you know, obviously it catches on fire, so he turns and throws it to get rid of it. And the grass just was dry as could be. And so then the yard catches on fire, and there's fire just spreading, you know, throughout. Just seemed like the magnitude of this thing was on and on and on and on. Well, the gentleman that was under the hood working on it, he had a big old beard, and that thing caught on fire. So like they're focused on the grass fire, but he's on fire. And you know, at the time, it's now is extremely funny, then seemed extremely serious in the matter of it. And you know, trying to get the beard fire out, trying to get the grass fire out, the car's got some fire going on over here. Lord. And all this, you know, now I look back and I think that's just crazy. That's just crazy. But there's I just think of nationwide or even worldwide, how many stories there are like that of people, you know, that are backyard mechanicking, trying to fix something that just for all intents and purposes, that, let's say, shouldn't be fixing something. Right. You know, at that time, fuel injection, I think, was relatively new, you know, for especially do-it-yourselfer, I would say, and just not knowing how it was operating and what was going on and things like that. And I think of today's technology and vehicles, and you know, although it may not be detrimental as far as like to the environment or catch something on fire or dangerous from a dangerous perspective, but I think of the expense side of getting into something, trying to figure out and maybe breaking additional components of the car, and it becoming way more expensive to fix than you know, than what it would have been just to address the situation the proper way and get the right people on it, that know how to work on it, and the training and having the tools and equipment to do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So now that I've put you on the spot, and you don't have to have a story or anything, but I, in addition to that, I remember a vehicle coming in here, and this is just from experience, actually, now being on kind of the professional side of this thing. Gentleman with a Mustang coming in, and it was his insurance company that actually towed the vehicle to us because they supposedly, the story goes, we're just driving down the road and the airbags deployed in the vehicle.
Oh,
and that was the supposed situation or what had happened. And so the insurance company tows the vehicle in, and then they send out a investigator to kind of look everything over, and then they wanted, you know, opinions of, hey, what happened, why, how. As it turned out, so we tapped into some wires for a stereo system, and then the wires that we tapped into were related to the airbag system long term. And it's not that it didn't work, because the system operated fine, but when there was a certain level of amount of voltage that was used for the stereo system, then it made the bags deployed, because it depleted voltage in a specific circuit, and so made these. So what he's saying, when he went down the road and they just blew, well, yeah, that could have been a viable thing, but it was because of where we hooked in the stereo system. And I think back of a situation like that, and I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars when you get airbags deploying, just because of headliner and stuff like that, that it disrupts and breaks and things like that. So, and then I think you've even got a situation, a pickup that you had down there, where a customer was adding some cameras on the bedside of it, and what that cost. You can kind of talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, on that one. So they added some cameras to it, but when they did, they ran the power and ground into the cab, and where they ran it into the cab, they just drilled up through the floor pan and ran the wires through there, and then couldn't figure out why a bunch of stuff didn't work. And we lifted up the flooring in the bottom of the cab, and they had drilled right through the main harness of the vehicle. So yeah, that turns a little do-it-yourself project into a multi-hour, several $100 repair, fixing that harness and everything like that. Luckily it was all accessible right there, could be fixed, didn't wind up having to replace the whole harness.
Well, yeah, you get into a whole harness of a vehicle, and it can be catastrophic for sure. I remember, and this was years and years ago. I was trying to remember. So the first body style, I'm going to say like an 02 Corvette. I think that was the first year of that body style. Anyways, it come in off the transport. And I remember it to this day, just because of how what seemed simple, so the microphone for the like hands-free, or the OnStar, there was a connector missing out of the wiring harness for it, and brand new off of a transport, and I ended up having to put a wiring harness on this thing. And the wiring harness for this car was almost nose to tail on this car. Like, you get into a wiring harness now, and I think the manufacturers have really kind of started piecing it together and putting connectors in different spots, and you still can get pretty involved in a harness, but it's not inside outside. It's typically, you got an engine bay harness, you got a body harness inside the car, stuff like that. And I mean, I remember having this car strung out between 2 to 3 different stalls. Like, that's how in depth putting this wiring harness in this thing was. And it just seemed so simple to me, like, hey, let's just add a wire for that deal. But it was something specific that they had caught in manufacturing, and then they went ahead and released it to the dealer, and then said, hey, this is, we know this is messed up, but this is how we want to fix it. And so it was already kind of predetermined as to what the best course of action was. And at that point, I wasn't really diagnosing anything. I was just doing what I was told to do at that point.
That is wild.
Yeah, it was a pretty big undertaking, again, for that wiring harness. But like you said, to be a consumer, and just you're doing something simple, right? You're just, I'm just applying this deal. And I would say in this industry, we can even talk about the most common thing you see is probably draws, right? A parasitic draw on something, where somebody has added some sort of function or device to their vehicle, and then now it has a draw. If I'm looking at anything for a battery draw, the very first thing I'm looking at is, okay, what's been added to the vehicle?
I'll tell you, the most common thing that I see draw batteries down, phone chargers.
Yeah.
It's crazy that with nothing hooked up to them, I've seen like a gas station phone charger draw over an amp, like will draw a vehicle down overnight. And sometimes they've had it in there for months, and for whatever reason,
It just all of a sudden
bam.
starts.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
you think of that, the cable and the cord and how much it's moved around and tossed
Mhm.
around, but an amp, so the listeners out there, they're not necessarily going to understand what an amp is, but an amp's going to draw that vehicle down or that battery down pretty dang quick.
Yeah, I think anything over about 50 milliamps,
Mm-hmm.
is a problem, is something we're going to look into. But a full amp, that is quick.
Yeah.
That will pull a vehicle down.
You're going to deplete a battery definitely relatively quick. So, hey, call-in show 316-462-3673. Hop on the air here. Let's if you got any stories of a friend, you don't even have to disclose that it was you if you don't want to, but where we're backyard mechanicking, and I can think of all the I don't know, just smashed fingers and
Oh yeah.
blood under my fingernail because of this situation or that situation. For sure. The other thing, and I think I've even told this story on here before, but my uncle, he was working on it, had a Caprice Classic or something. I again don't vaguely remember. Again, he was not a mechanic, should not be a mechanic, and had what he thought at the time was a intake leak. And I don't remember, because those are really simple intakes. So, but anyways, I just vaguely remember it was him, and then it was him and his uncle that were working on this, and they were undoing this intake, and I remember there being like a come along from the intake to the rafter of the garage, and they were trying to pick this thing up. They thought it was just super heavy. No. Well, there was a bolt that was basically missing out of the deal and was leaving it in there. Now, they weren't applying a crap ton of pressure or anything like that, but thought between just the weight of it and the silicone, or thought that that's what it was going to take in order to do this. And again, like, shouldn't have been working on this car, right? Like, if that's your theory of what's going on and where you're at, like, okay, time stop, time out, time to get the professionals involved in this and see what's going on. That was another real vivid childhood memory, and I don't even remember if it was my uncle's car, or if I don't even know whose vehicle it was or how it got. Just remember that being a part of that, and seeing that and thinking, okay, hold on.
Yeah. I think I was about 6 or 7, and my dad had pulled the transmission out of his Silverado. And it was an old truck. It was a 70s truck. It was a turbo 350 transmission, about the simplest thing that you can go through now. But he had pulled this transmission out of his Silverado, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He had it on the tailgate of his truck, laying sideways. We'd taken the pan off, or he had. I'm standing there watching him, and he pulls all the bolts out of the valve body, and he pulls the valve body off of the transmission, and little metal balls hit the ground and go everywhere. 3 or 4 little balls. I can't remember how many it was, but needless to say, I do not believe that transmission ever went back in that truck. I think he went and found a transmission to put back in there.
Yeah.
After he took it apart.
Having torn into many transmissions, for sure. I remember I was in Vo-Tech class at Hutchinson Community College, and there was one of the kids there had a Blazer, a K10 Blazer, and so it would have had to have been probably a 350, I would guess, a turbo 350 transmission in there. And I just vividly remember he pulls the transmission out, disassembles it. Had the same complexity on the on the check balls on that thing, but disassembles it and then goes through and, for all intents purposes, kind of rebuilds this thing. And he's getting it all back together, or getting ready to button it up. And I remember walking over there, and there being like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pieces on the bench still yet. And I was like, hey, what's going on with these? And he's like, well, it wouldn't fit in there, so I was just gonna leave them out. And anyway, he's needless to say, he ended up having to redo it, to put it in the vehicle. And man, the tolerances on those transmissions are so tight. But and what had happened was, when he was stacking clutches, the clutches and bands in there, he just didn't have things stacked right, and
didn't have them lined up on the splines.
Yeah, and so there was just, in his mind, there just wasn't room for him, but yet it was still plenty of room there, and there wasn't, but again, just the finesse of getting that thing back together and done right. So, but it's for somebody that's going into the industry or going to be in the industry, it's called a learning experience.
Yeah.
For somebody that's just doing it on the backyard side of things, like I just, from my mind, like, okay, you're in that particular situation. Maybe you're trying to save $1 or $2, but what did you save when you had to do it 2 and 3 times, or 3 and 4 times? To
what's your time worth?
What's your time worth is another big one. And then just the mental anguish on that, of just the frustration of dealing with it, would be overwhelming for sure.
I will tell you, when I went to Votech and I went to Pratt Community College, and they actually had in our transmissions class, they actually had a transmission dyno.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So bolt up any transmission onto there. It had a little drive shaft that ran to a dynamometer, and hooked up lines, pump pressure, ran it through the gears, everything like that. And I will tell you, in my class, I had the only transmission that ran through all the gears and shifted like it should, and worked just like it should.
Well, to be able to check that before you go putting it in a vehicle, that would be definitely pretty cool for sure.
It was quite the machine. Yeah. Another funny story. I was 12 when I bought my first truck, a 1978 F-150. And by the time I was 13, working summers for farmers and stuff out there, by the time I was 13, I bought an engine and transmission for it, because I bought it as a roller.
Okay.
So convinced my grandpa to help me with it. We do it in his shop, and I work on this thing for like a week installing this engine and transmission. And I'm 13 going on 14, and get it all installed. Everything's hooked up. Get fuel in the thing, and my dad and my grandpa are out under the hood, and said, all right, let's crank it up. And I reach over there and fire it up, and it's pouring smoke out of it. I mean, bellowing. And my heart just sunk. That all this work, all this money, back then, when you're a teenager, $600-700, that's a huge investment, And man, I was so disappointed. And I walk around toward the hood, and there's my grandpa with one of those little oil cans full of transmission fluid, just squirting it in the carburetor. And I don't know if you've ever put transmission fluid through a carburetor, but that stuff smokes like crazy. And I walk around there, and they're just laughing their butts off. And of course, he stopped, and the smoke cleared up right away. And I don't know, it lasted me a year or so before I blew the motor on it. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, well, I do know, because it was age related, not age of the engine. Right. Age of the operator is what they call that. So, speaking of age related stuff, and this has really nothing to do with anything, but son's in a little manual pickup, And the other day I got a text because we keep it in the shop, and it said something along the lines of, I'll have to pull it up to read it, because as soon as I seen the text, it was like, yeah, I'd never lived, or I was never your age once. Yeah, let me I'm getting back here. I'll find it. Yeah, so this was 419. So he knew I was going to be home in a couple of hours, but he says, just wanted to let you know, I accidentally just dropped the clutch and the tires spun when I was leaving the shop.
Mm.
That's why there's marks on the floor.
Yeah.
And then he says, trying to operate a clutch in slide shoes is not the thing to do. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so anyways, then I go home and their marks are probably about this long through the shop. And I'm thinking,
yeah.
So if your foot just slips off the clutch, typically you get kind of like a jerking motion. It's been my experience anyways. But then I've got marks in my shop that are.
It would depend heavily on the RPMs of that engine.
So,
well, his foot slipped off the clutch, and his other one slipped onto the gas. It happened at the same time, I'm sure.
Trying to counterbalance himself, I'm almost certain of it. So I should have took pictures of the black marks that it left on the shop. Anyways, yeah, been there, done that. Probably know the real story, but is what it is.
Oh, so. Yeah, the things my kids have said about operating their vehicles, when when they rear end somebody or something. I wasn't on my phone. First thing. Okay, now I know you were absolutely on your phone. Crazy.
Hey, 316-462-3673. That's a number to jump on the air here with us, and let's talk about backyard mechanicing or the story maybe you tried to tell as a kid.
Yeah.
that was or was not the truth. I remember the other thing. So there's quite a bit of age difference between my sisters and I. And my older sister, when she got of driving age or whatever, I was already well into the automotive industry and pretty established at that point. And so I played a pretty pivotal role in her first vehicle, and making sure that, well, one, both of my sisters, their first car maybe wasn't the first car. How do you word this? Maybe wasn't the sought after first car, right? But like mechanically, it was in extremely good condition. They were very well taken care of, and so the first one, one of the other techs at the other shop, his at the time fiance or girlfriend or whatever, they ended up getting married, but they put her in a new vehicle, and so they had the car that she was in, and it happened to be, I think it was like a Lumina or I don't know, remember. It was a Chevy, but the thing was just in extremely good condition all the way around, and she had that thing, and I'm gonna have to re-ask her about this, but anyway, she had the car for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. It was going to be a good car. It was going to get her all the way through high school and probably, start at college, stuff like that. And they ended up rolling it somehow in a park, like in Kinsley, Kansas. And supposedly there's a little area between a pool and the actual park itself that you drive through. And supposedly a dog ran out in front of her, and the car ended up on rolling it. Thankfully, obviously, first and foremost, everybody was okay. Nobody was hurt, everything like that. And she had her sister with her, is the other thing. But, and still, it's been a while since I've re-asked about this story, but as of many years ago, we were still claiming that was the story, is that a dog had run out in front of us. And I just have a hard time saying, hey, that's probably the thing. So, however, there's many many a stories
There's
that
always a story.
yeah, there's many a stories that I were involved with personally that that I wanted to tell you. There was a dog involved, and there was probably no dog. So
I remember, using the old I ran out of gas excuse a lot when I was a teenager. Several times I had to, go to a gas station, find a payphone, put a quarter in a payphone, and call my parents when I knew I wasn't going to make it home by midnight, which was my curfew. I ran out of gas. I don't know how many times they believed it, but
none.
That was the excuse.
As I'm a parent now, none.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it sure was worth selling at the time.
Mhm.
Believable to me.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, hey, 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us. And if you've got a backyard mechanicking story or I should have been home at midnight story and decide to tell the come clean. It's the confessional hour.
Yeah.
Here on the Automotive Show.
Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of that out there too. So what is the statute of limitations? Is it somebody like you ought to know that?
Yeah, I 7 years on a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I can't tell too many of my stories because I just don't know. We were out one night between Bentley and Sedgwick, and I may or may not have been driving, and may or may not have been with some of my buddies, and also may or may not have gone down into the ditch and intentionally tried to push over a certain type of street sign, and got it at a pretty good angle, and put it in reverse. We're gonna try it again, and put it in reverse, and nothing happened.
Oh
no. And reverse had gone out in my pickup, and
that's called an opportune time.
I'm telling you, I'm in the ditch. It's 10 minutes to midnight. 10 minutes till I had to be home.
Well, you got to get to that fuel station and claim you're out of gas.
Yeah, now I'm in the ditch. I'm up against a sign. No reverse. No getting that sign out. That's 4 foot in the ground. Of a 4x4 post, and man, we worked with a tire tool trying to dig that thing out. I mean, for probably 2 hours, and still couldn't get it. And just by happenstance, one of my buddies comes driving down the road, and we're scared to death thinking it's a cop.
Oh yeah.
And he pulls up there. What are y'all doing? You know exactly what we're doing. Can you hook onto my truck and get me out of here? Yeah, I suppose. And I got home like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And my parents met me in the living room. I ran out of gas. Yep.
Hey, but I'm home now.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Still claiming the gas story.
Oh yeah.
You did use that a lot then.
I did.
Well, very good. Well, hey, I've got. I know you've got a whole lot of things going on as well down there this morning. It was plenty busy. But Kelly, I appreciate you coming out and visiting with us for sure.
Always a pleasure, Joshua.
Oh, wait, hold on here. Hold on here. We gotta get this one. We got a surprise guest. Gonna be on
good.
here. Yep. Cannot wait. If it's who I think it is, anyways.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the real answer of this. So let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Randy. Randy,
crap.
You're on live.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a little story about a guy a kid that called and said that when I questioned him, I wasn't on my cell phone. Oh. It was his last day of school up at Newton.
Yeah.
And he was going to the automotive college up there, Lotech. And I had borrowed a car from my cousin, a big Bonneville. And yes, he was headed home because he was only there a half day, and I'd been giving him a ride back and forth. And he just graduated up here at Halstead High School. Yeah, well, next thing you know, he had rear-ended a couple out there in the middle of nowhere that was just cruising down the road. And it just so happens he got a phone for his graduation present. And
A Nokia
it
brick.
took a mini.
It was a Nokia brick. My first phone.
Yeah. And so he was having a hard time operating that, trying to drive down the road out there in the middle of the country. And then poor couple went rolling out through the wheat field. Cost me my cousin's car and yeah, a lot of work.
Okay, so
But he did work on his own vehicles though, as he was growing up, and yeah, he was a pretty good kid. There's a whole story behind that.
Well,
you know, Dad, I really appreciate you calling in and everything, but we're running pretty short on time.
Yeah.
So-
well, I could fill up the next episodes.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I want to ask you, because you know, I'm in this and in the same kind of same era as Kelly, in the sense of my kids are, you know, now of driving age, and you think back of man, all the things I did. But I'm gonna bet here that you've got maybe a story or two that when you were a kid.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And they're probably a lot worse than mine.
Well, I don't.
Oh,
we're not
no,
gonna. We're
no,
gonna. Yeah,
no,
we're
I
not.
was a perfect kid.
Careful. That halo will disappear there.
I did take my I got a 1970 Chevelle for my 16th birthday, and dang, if a year later we wasn't taken to the scrap yard.
Oh, what
I
what
wish I
happened
had
there?
a few. Well, it just so happens we was out running around one night, and I'd let this girl drive my car, and yeah, well, it didn't work out as lucky as
Rest
I
is
thought I was going to.
Rest
is history.
That night didn't go like you thought.
Understand that, and I can tell you, from experience and my my history, that there's a lot of cars that I wish I still had, or maybe would have treated a
Definitely.
little bit better.
Yeah, I had a ton of them. I wished I had my old 51 3/4 ton Chevy truck back that had a stock rack on the back, and but that one I took real good care of. And my old 51 Buick with the straight 8. Oh man, that thing go 100 mile an hour all day long.
Flathead, I think. Flathead straight 8.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my neighbor, he said he'd take it to Vegas, and he said he just set her on cruise. He'd set her out across the desert, and he said that thing had enough gas and enough power to get him to the next station out there. And he said it was a long way between stations. But yeah, I know my old 59 Edsel with the 390 Police Interceptor, Oklahoma cop car, push on the dimmer switch and the siren would go off. Bought it for $50 on a Friday and sold it for $250 on a Sunday after I got the motor freed up and started. I was poor.
Well, but that also a good week's worth. Goods work. Yeah.
$200 went
Back
a lot
then,
further back then than it does today.
Yes, it did.
Well,
But yeah, I had a few stories.
Well, very good. Well, greatly appreciate you calling in and sharing with us, and also appreciate you keeping it clean.
I appreciate you never calling in again, honestly.
But
yeah, well, speaking of kids and stuff, my I haven't seen my old yellow Avalanche for about 2 or 3 months from grandkids needing to borrow it because they weren't paying attention.
Gotcha.
Yeah, every time one of my kids wad something up,
that's the reserve.
They get
vehicle.
to drive the yellow Avalanche for.
They hit you up and say, "Grandpa."
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't think I've drove it in quite a while.
Well,
Because I bought me a nice truck from Mel Hamilton Ford down
Sure
there.
did.
And I tell you, oh man, I got me a 2022, and it's got all the bells and whistles.
King Ranch.
F1 King Ranch, and oh man, I love that truck.
Very good. Very good. Well, we appreciate the business, and thanks for the phone call. And, you know, I'm sure we could sit here and fill up.
Yeah, talk all day, but I better let somebody else get in there and
Very
talk.
good.
So
You have a great rest
you
of your
guys
day.
have a good one.
All right,
You
bye.
too.
Bye.
That was well, that went pretty well,
Yeah.
you know, all in all.
Yeah, and it
Oh,
wasn't that I was jacking
you
around
can't.
on my phone. It
No.
was that it had Snake on it. And so I was driving down Ridge Road playing Snake on my Nokia brick. And I think these folks were going about 15 mile an hour, and I had the cruise set at 60.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
I looked up and I didn't even have time to put my foot on the brake pedal. Just
Gotcha. Just got
Yeah.
it. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, hey, again, thanks for the call. Thanks for all the loyal listeners out there. And Kelly, I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me this hour. And we're going to cut it a little short so we can get back to the grind. And everybody have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next Saturday.